Welcome back, everyone, and we have an exciting episode today. It can be contentious or it can be very gratifying. Um, you know, we're going to bring the type of information today that is best for Pariah Nexus missions for you to play in your tournament games. As always, make sure to pay attention, listen, and get excited for this show that's coming up. So, we're going to bring to you some exciting tier list about what are the best missions for tournament play. Give us 1 second. All right, welcome back, everyone, and I hope you really like the new introduction. So I'm going to bring on our panelists now. We're going to create an entire tier list of all of the missions in the mission pool section for the Pariah Nexus Tournament Companion, and we're going to rank all of the missions today. There's going to be 4 of them. They're going to be dumped away that really isn't created for tournament play, but let me go ahead and introduce our panelists. So first up, we have the exciting, beautiful Matt from Almost Functional 40K with wonderful content on his platform. He brings a lot of exciting content. He also brings a lot of Space Wolf content, so make sure to go check him out. I will put his links in the bottom of the show. It's going to come around as a banner. Make sure to support him as well. And also, we have the wonderful Thomas with a boxing uniform apparently he has on for a fighting match. I don't know what type of fighting match he's going to be able to do today, but he is going to fight against all of the Pariah Nexus missions. I
was inspired, okay? It's been a whole thing.
Hey, man, I remember that for your tournament play, the whole entire team. Just so people know, he was at ATC Florida, and at ATC Florida, him and his entire 5-man team, so 4 other individuals, had that uniform on, and it was amazing and funny at the same time. So I wish there is some photos on my Onslaught Gaming 40K page, so go ahead and check that out if you're not already a part of that. But yeah, let me go ahead and bring up the tier list. So first of all, before we bring up the tier list, we're going to do the Pariah Nexus tournament mission pool. So everyone is aware we're going to go through the A through P section, QRST, as you're going to learn later on. And if you look at it, right, Q and R really only have 2 layouts. S and T only have 1 layout. Those were not designed for tournament play, so they're going to go into a particular section. But that is neither here or there. So we're going to go through A through P. And this is going to be an exciting show. And let me go ahead and bring up the tier list. And let's talk about this, guys. So bringing up the first one, we have Mission A. So obviously, we're going to go in alphabetical order. And our orders of how we feel like they're going to be the best is Tourney A++. You know, kind of a B tier. A tier is going to be Tourney Worthy. Meh is more of a C, D tier where we feel like it really doesn't have a balance to the game itself. So this is going to be rated by balance for every single faction in the game. So meh, it's not really balanced, right? It's something that maybe, you know, Matt with his Space Wolves might get an advantage in with his, you know, Wolf Jail list. Maybe if he's running Champions of Rust, it might be a little bit advantageous for him. And doesn't belong, we're going to go ahead and put in the QRST. And we all agree, right, gentlemen? The QRST is just basically it doesn't belong.
Yes.
Right.
And I just want to point out that Space Wolves have an advantage in every mission.
Gotta love it. Gotta love his cockiness. I think that's just Space Wolf players.
I mean, I wish my record at tournaments backed that up, but
you'll You'll get there, hopefully, right? Because you're potentially coming down. I mean, how guaranteed are you to come down to Grand Onslaught 8?
I'm guaranteed
long
to
is
leave.
this?
I'm guaranteed to leave for it. Whether or not my car breaks down along the way is the only thing that stopped me from getting there.
I'll scoop you up like a white knight. Call me, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I already got a place
So-
figured out to stay and everything. I'll be there.
Beautiful, beautiful, man. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for all the people who are about to participate. There's a lot of hard hitters on there, a lot of wonderful people. I'm excited. But anyways, back to the show. So we have A. So what's our thoughts on this, my people? Because we were talking about this a little bit prior to the show.
Yeah, I
Go
think
ahead. You guys can start off.
Take and Hold is one of the most balanced primary missions. Like, there's nothing special about it. It's just hold some objectives, score some points. So I think most of the Take and Holds are going to be very good for tournaments.
Do you think the tipping point affects it any? If it was a different deployment or anything like that, or you think the tipping point makes a little bit more balance for everyone?
I think Tipping Point is and Crucible are probably the two most balanced. I think
I
Search
agree.
and Destroy and Hammer and Anvil can favor certain builds.
I agree.
I also really like Tipping Point even more than Hammer and Anvil because it encourages, strong side, weak side, because it's naturally a dichotomy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And raise banners on that mission itself for A. So raise banners, as we were talking about, that probably doesn't have a lot of effect throughout the game. I mean, it can be 2 to 4 points, right? So raise banners is probably not super beneficial, but doesn't break the balance. What are your thoughts, guys?
Same, yeah, especially since it goes into secondary, not primary.
Yeah, it's
Correct.
basically another, mini secondary card, like a small engage or like one bring it down or something. Like, just that's how I look at it.
Yep.
Okay. So A mission, what are we thinking? We're thinking 20 A++, 20 worthy, not super exciting.
I think A++. I think it's one of the most balanced deployments and probably the most balanced primary mission.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, I love this mission. What are you thinking, Thomas?
I think it's great. I think going to an event, if I saw this was the first mission of the thing, I'd feel like it's a strong start, easy day.
And make sure for those of you who are listening and participating, right, leave some comments out. I know we got a couple people. Oh, we got Elite Hater, who was Thomas speaking in here. So, all right. So, what's the next one? B. What are we thinking about B, my people? So, this is Purge the Foe, Smoke and Mirrors, and Tipping Point. So, Tipping Point once again is one of the best deployments. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I think Purge the Foe can favor elite armies versus MSU.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my only. I like it. It's a good mission, but I think it can, in certain matchups, really favor one over the other on the killing. So that's why I'd probably put it in tournament worthy, because I think it is worthy to be run. I just don't think it's fully balanced in every matchup. And
the 500 points that you get for strategic reserves, do you think that breaks the balance or anything, or that actually helps out battle line armies and makes it a little bit?
I think it's just an interesting little thing. I don't think people really put stuff in reserve they weren't going to begin with. Like at ATC, we ran this mission. I put a unit that I normally put in reserve on the table and then took it off at the end, just like, oh, look, they're out here in the open. Like, it gives you that one little play to try to bait someone's deployment, but I don't think most of the time it's against good players. Or even average players. It's going to really affect the game that much.
I agree. What's your thoughts, Thomas?
I think that it is tournament worthy. I think it's good. And I like Smoke and Mirrors because me personally, this is not a generic thing, but oftentimes I deploy, get 8-9 units in, and realize, this would have been better over there, and now it can be. But I don't think it affects the actual mission itself almost at all, because like Matt said, it just people who are on your level or better are going to see it coming, are going to notice, and the game's going to play out how it always would have.
I agree. I'm just making a couple comments here to our participants who are listening in. So B, we're feeling like it's just tournament worthy.
Yes.
Yep.
Also, okay. I do agree with Nick that that we got to get into those Greek alphabets, because those are the real sauce people need to know about.
Theta is number one. Hey man, I didn't want to take the time to do the alphabets myself, right? Copy and paste like I'm some serial killer just doing alphabet soups. So C. So C can be a rather odd one or a good one, depending on what army you might play. But Linchpin, Fog of War, and Tipping Point, I think is also another great one. I think Linchpin provides a lot of balance throughout the game, and Tipping Point helps with that as well. Fog of War being restricted to what you can do for core stratagem wise, and getting cover can really help a lot of armies.
Yeah, I think Linchpin is a lot like taking hold. Like, as long as you're holding your home objective, the middle objectives are all equal. There's nothing real weird about that. We've already gone over Tipping Point. Fog of War, like it gives everybody cover turn one, which in most 40K games these days, people are deploying in cover to begin with. So you either ignore cover or you don't. So I don't think that part's big. The not having the core stratagems could affect games occasionally, but I don't think it's really that big a thing most of the time.
Yeah, I think that the Linchpin is a very good mission. I think that if like we were talking previous to this, is that if both players start taking each other's objective markers and everybody's just running off 3 points in no man's land, that's going to be pretty hilarious. Yeah. I think that Fog of War helps a lot with the benefit of cover, even though, or doesn't help a lot rather, because indirect is really dead now, even with guard armies, right? Mm-hmm. So you're really not getting shot first turn unless you're leaving your stuff out there, obviously, so everybody can see it. Not being able, how do we feel about not being able to use core stratagems turn one?
I think it matters a lot more than, and you hear it and you're like, oh, okay, well, I wasn't really planning on heroicing or planning on, rapid, I can't even legally rapid ingress turn one. And then you roll a 1 on that advance you needed a 2 on. Or, you get shot and need to make more saves than because a wing or a tip or a sponson was sticking out, and you're like, oh, it's 4-ups, no problem. You fail all 3 of them, and you're like, well, I could. So I think when it matters, I think you feel it, but in a generic sense, I do think it is, not, because after turn 1, there's no army rule anymore. Turns 2 through 5, there's no mission rule for the play-by.
Well, like Wise Man said in the chat, just roll 6s.
Correct.
That's right.
For the primary, I do like it because I do think it is just taken hold with like one more layer. Like, hey, you're still taking holding, just also you have to hold your home now. Like that one is mandatory. So I'm almost tempted to say A++ because it is like the sister to take and hold, where like the hoop you have to jump through isn't something you weren't not doing anyway.
No, I agree with you.
I agree too. I think it needs careful planning as well for this particular mission, right? I think you need to carefully tread, light waters. But I think it's mostly, if not completely balanced for an entire all factions. Yep. So C, we're going to do as 20 A++. So what about D for Delta? So D for Delta is going to be, let me run through my Rolodex. Scorched
Earth action tip. Sorry, you found it?
Yeah. So Scorched Earth, Swift Action, and Tipping Point. So once again, we talk about Tipping Point. But go ahead, tell your point, Matt.
Yeah, well, Scorched Earth just really, really favors going second. So that's the only reason I don't think it's fully balanced, because just the ability to burn stuff.
Correct.
Bottom of turn 5, just a lot easier than the rest of the game. Is a huge advantage.
Get it 20 points, battle round 5.
Yeah, if you're able to burn the opponents, which I've done on the bottom of 5 in a game recently, and scoring 20 points on the bottom of the turn can really swing the game, because they don't have and I did it with a 2-man unit. Like, if he'd had another turn, he would have killed him. Like, so it's just the fact that he didn't get to counter it just really favored me.
Yeah, so far we don't think that D is too favored for all factions, especially, like Matt pointed out, Scorched Earth, if you're going second, bottom of battle round 5, you're going to be at a very high advantage, right? You can get 10 for your primary, 5 if you're holding something in no man's land, 10 if you're holding your, enemy's deployment zone. So you could potentially get up to 20 points on that one, right? And that can be very swingy. I mean, that could define the game. I've seen it actually defined over the weekend. There were some participants at my RTT, and they were playing throughout this mission, and they didn't notice that it can swing in a 20-point direction in Battle Round 5. What are your thoughts, Thomas?
Well, I think the big takeaway here, like understanding the primary mission, just how you need to do that. But I think swift action is the real wrench in the works because Scorched Earth is an action. So having that little bit of maneuverability on battle line units to still advance and be able to do it, I think matters. But yes, going second, if you have that foreknowledge and know, all right, I can score and then burn for another 5 on top of it, can really either help blunt an early game lead, a aggressive first turn player may have gotten, or just clutch out a win when you've been tied.
Because I know a lot of the missions have where the second player scores at the bottom of their turn, but they normally only have the potential to score the same as the person who scores at the top. This, the way it's set up, you really have a chance to score more than the person who has first turn.
Yep. I agree, too. Yeah, I agree. And that's very swingy, too, right? You can get 15 to 20 points. So, yeah, I mean, that could define the entire game, like I was stating earlier. So what do you guys think? What do you think that D should be? Do you think that's more for balance sake, right? And for those of you who are just tuning in now, right, we're breaking these down in a tier list for all the Pariah Nexus Companion Tournament missions from the mission pool. We're making them balanced, right, for all factions. So this is not where one faction is better than another. We just want to kind of tier out and rank out which are best for all factions. So what are we thinking, fellas?
I'd say meh. Like if I see it in a tournament, I'm not like, oh, I hate it. I'm not leaving, but I'm like, it's not I know I want to lose the role to go first.
Yes. Yeah. How often do you say that, right? Like, I don't want to go first.
Well, honestly, I say that a lot, honestly.
I was gonna say tournament worthy.
Yeah.
Because I think even despite that second turn advantage, again, if you know it can be played around. Like you can, because there's only so many to burn, and if both of you burn one, there's only one left at the end. Then they're not gonna hold 2. They're gonna hold the 1 and then burn the 1. So, but I get meh. I wouldn't be like you can be caught off guard by that. Think you're gonna tie, then suddenly they swing 5 more points and they win now, and that can happen. And like you said, it did happen over the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's more meh. I think it could be very surprising to some players, especially if they don't understand what it can do to you going, if you're going first and your opponent's going second, and what can happen to you, on a 20-point swing. And it could be very challenging for you to try to take that away from your opponent as well, because you're probably depleted at that point. You probably don't have a lot of units to really stop it. So I agree with it being meh in the sense of it not being completely balanced, especially at the end of the game. If it was more earlier in the game, right, I would say it's tournament worthy. But I think because it's at the end of the game, it makes it a challenge.
Yep.
So what about E, my peoples? So E is going to be taken hold, prepared positions, and hammer and anvil. And we all love hammer and anvil for its balance. I don't love it for aggressive armies, but that's not what we're talking about here today. Hammer and anvil for balance is going to be absolutely amazing, just like tipping point. What about prepared positions and taking hold? And I know you love some taking hold over there, Matt.
Yeah, well, like we were saying earlier, I think tipping point and crucible are the 2 most balanced. I think hammer can favor defensive and search and destroy can favor aggressive. So, but I love taking hold. Prepared positions is almost like chilling rain that really rarely ever affects anything.
Yeah.
So with hammer and anvil, I don't know if I'd quite tournament A++. If I did, it'd be toward the bottom of it. It might be at the top of tournament worthy, but I have it right there on that line for me personally.
So you think some armies that can sit back and shoot, it would be more advantageous for them and not beneficial for other factions?
Yeah, with that 18-inch deployment zone, you could sit back a little more if you're a more defensive shooty army and just force the aggressive armies to have to come further to get to you, possibly.
Yeah. Especially if you're on 4 and 6 layout, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. And layout really makes that matter, because if you're on some of the other, like 1 or 8, then it doesn't matter because they can't shoot you in the middle anyway. So your layout definitely does affect that.
Do you think that maybe the advancing and falling back and still being able to do actions that affects it any map?
No, this is prepared positions. This is,
or was it?
this is
Battle-
used for, this is 0 CP for battle line to do go to ground and
prepared.
heroic intervention.
My bad. I'm looking ahead. My bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is heroic. Yeah, so that doesn't help it much.
No,
But swift actions would have helped it.
No, swift actions would make a difference, yes. But prepared positions, I think, is basically just chilling rain most of the time.
Yep. All right, go ahead, Thomas. I do apologize. Cut you off.
So I didn't talk about it on Tipping Point, but on Hammer and Anvil, something with a note for these next couple of letters. Every objective marker is 12 inches away, the center of them, so an effective 9 inches away to hold it from your deployment zones. All of them are on the 30-inch line, and you have an 18-inch deep deployment zone. So, and they're just split out equally among the thirds of the table going across the horizontal axis. So I think this is actually more fair because, as Matt said, prepared positions like could come in. Like if you have 20 guardsmen, you go to ground and give them a 6-up invuln. That is like the or maybe heroic interventioning, chaos armiger or custodian guard. Like those, that's like the peak of the plays you can make, right? It's not. So I agree that I think it's less impactful than even raised banners, but more fair because Hammer and Anvil is just everything's equal on the board. There's no high edge and short edge and varied lengths. And if you're aggressive, you can get it. It's just, hey, you can be shot. You can be aggressive. Every plan is just as valid. So I think it's top of A++. Personally.
What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I just think the ability to make the charge range harder for aggressive armies in the early turns just makes it a little harder for aggressive armies, but not by a lot, I don't think, because you can only sit back so long in these missions. So yeah, I'm fine with A++.
I think it encourages strategic planning, right, and execution, and a lot of people in the community really like this mission as well. So, but the balance of it, I think it's a lot better, right? I agree with you guys. I don't think it's meh. I think it would be in between tourney worthy and A++, but let's go ahead and put it in. And
something to note real quick. Sorry, I know, this is, I don't want to get too off in the weeds, but I just looked. It is layouts 1, 7, and 8. And while I don't know 1 super well, 7 and 8 are great they are so many points to stage melee armies.
They are. 1 and 8 are amazing for melee. Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure how strictly people are following the layouts when they're picking their missions at tournaments.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to put too much stock on that, but per this companion.
That's true, but yeah, if they run them like the companion, I know 1 and 8 are 2 of the better combat ones.
So, and 7 is the densest board. It has the most terrain footprints of all the maps. But that.
Well, they should all have all the exact same terrain, right?
Almost. So, anyways, yeah, that's one to point that out for the melee versus shooting argument. But yeah, I think that's A++ is perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it would be at the end of A++, right?
I agree.
So once we start putting the other missions out, do you guys agree that C is better than A, or A is probably just the top of the line?
I think A is the top of the line. What was C? Linchpin? I think A. There's no extra stuff at all.
I do also think A, because Linchpin does put that more focus on holding your backfield, and that the elite armies that is not a strong suit of theirs. So where A is just hold 2 or 3 anywhere, it doesn't matter. And
C throws in Fog of War, so I think that drops it down below A2.
Yeah, it's one of the most balanced ones. I agree. So we got the correct order. So next up we have F. F being Burden of Trust, Hidden Supplies, Hammer and Anvil. So Hammer and Anvil makes it very balanced. Yeah. Burden of Trust can be very skewy. Basically, if the second player, if whoever's going second is at an actual disadvantage, because if you're going against a first player who's very aggressive, they can take and hold those objective markers, and you'll probably never be able to recover those points throughout the game.
Well, and the fact that they can guard top of turn 5 and you can't guard bottom of turn 5, the way it's worded right now, until they fix that.
Until they fix that, yeah. Do you think it was intended, though?
I do.
And I hate to go by intent, right? Like I don't rule by intent on my events, but I mean for design purposes, do you think it was intended, Matt?
I would hope not, because no other mission gives the player going first or second a chance to score more points than the other. Like they let you score at a different time on a lot of them, so that it balances going second versus first. But I don't think any other mission, technically, if you scored every single point you legally could every round, the player who went second would actually have 6 or 8 less points than the person who went first.
So I think it is, because there is that clause on so many of these, all of them, I believe. Player going second scores bottom around 5. They get their whole turn, all their movement, activation, shooting, fighting to bring to bear to move their OC around and remove their opponent. Where player 5's last opportunity was a whole round ago, and where the player 2 had a whole chance to interrupt them before they scored top of 5. I think this is a nice little balance to where it's not, hey, you can get 5 or 10, but like, all right, you get 2-4 extra points. If you're getting 6 extra points, you already won the game. At the bottom of 5, or top of 5, if you got 6, it doesn't matter that they're going second. You won. So I think it was intended to help lessen that. Oh, I'm going second. I don't got to worry about turns 1 or 2. I'll make it up at the end. Personally. Also, hidden supplies helps a lot, because now there are 4 No Man's Land objectives, and holding all 3 is already a challenge. Holding 4 totally and completely is just a massive ask of any army.
It can be. Yeah. No, I agree. And before we continue on, I'm going to run a commercial. We're going to have a brand new commercial today. Hopefully, Lee is still in the studio with us so he can see his commercial and he knows our level of support to him. So give us 1 second, 1 minute. We got to pay the bills and we'll be right back.
Turn this into an epic display. Hey everyone, I'm Lee the 40K Nomad, and this is my battle board in a box. The only display board you are ever going to need, and it will take care of all your armies. Let's open this thing up and show you how it works. And then choose from the steps or the flat wall section. All display boards come with both options. Want to use the same display for a second or third army? No problem. Change out the picture, change out the insert, add some different terrain, and you're good to go.
All right, and we're back, people. I appreciate that. I appreciate you hanging tight just to watch our sponsors. Make sure to go ahead and support Battleboard Studios. The link is down below in the description sections on YouTube and Twitch. As always, you can get $50 off of your next order. So make sure to go check that out. And it can help you at your next tournament, potentially my tournaments where you're playing at, and best appearance, which is best paint and best battle board. And that helps you win at that event. So, all right, my peoples. So, panelists, my host, are we ready for the next ones?
Well, we didn't put F on the board yet.
We didn't place F? All right.
We just talked about it, but we didn't place it.
Thank you for keeping me straight. That's right. Whip me in shape. So what are we thinking for F?
Burden of Trust, I'd say bottom of tournament worthy or meh.
I also think it's tournament worthy, specifically because of that little bit of balancing act of player 1 gets one more chance to guard while player 2 scores a bottom.
I think I'm thinking it's right between them both, like a high meh, right? In between tournament worthy and meh.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that too.
I agree with that.
I think that too, because hidden supplies doesn't make it as balanced as you want it to be either, right? So that doesn't help out. So I think F is a meh, high meh. What about G? So for G, we have, looking at my notes here. Wow, seem to have lost it. So G, the ritual, stalwarts, and hammer and anvil. So we love hammer and anvil, of course. The ritual can be a challenge sometimes, especially for people who are novice players. If you control the no man's land, and you have an aggressive army that can control that very fast and just flood no man's land, even though you can try and attempt to make some objective markers. But remember, if you basically block out 13 inches of the center, because it has to be made off that center objective, off of 12 inches of that, and then 1 inch within the 12 inches, you can make it that objective marker. If you can block those sections out, it can be very challenging for the other player to basically make some objective markers. I think Stalwarts is great, but I don't think that changes the G mission. What are we thinking, Matt?
I think the ritual, like, I personally enjoy it, but I think it can skew toward an aggressive take the field type army can get up a little bit in that mission. And I find it's one of the missions where if there is a slight player skill gap, this widens it more. Which
that's right.
I think if we're just trying to go where, like, if you're already a better player than someone, anything that makes it even easier for you, I think necessarily isn't the greatest thing for balance in a tournament.
I agree. You think Stalwarts helps that out any? Nah, not really. It's like Chilling Rain. It's like Chilling Rain in last edition. Yeah. So for those of you who don't follow along, right, with Stalwarts, it still allows you to shoot and perform actions when you're in engagement range. So I think that can be a little bit helpful, but not as much, like Matt said. What are your thoughts, Thomas?
I think that the ritual is tied for the biggest ask of your ability to read a game. And given that, it is probably one of the worst, quote unquote, balanced, because it is one of, I believe, 2 missions where you just bring the wrong list and you don't auto lose, but you are on a severe disadvantage. So I do think it is probably bottom of meh. I think it is a mechanically fascinating mission, not to make it sound like it's awful, but for the purposes of balance, it's at the bottom because of that.
Yeah, it is a fun mission, especially if you have 2 well-matched armies and 2 well-matched opponents skill level wise.
Correct.
But if the army matchup and this player matchup isn't, it could just really help skew things hard one way.
I think so too. Yeah, no, I agree. And like you stated, Matt, right? And I think Thomas stated this as well. If that skill gap, if this is disparity in skill gap, man, that can be advantageous for the person who understands his mission a lot better. Like, it affected me, actually. Me and Matt from Almost Functional 40K went and did a team event just recently at ATC. And it threw me off guard. It actually threw me off guard. I really didn't read it. I've never played it before either. And for 2 battle rounds, I had to really recoup, even with squig hogs, and I could potentially flood the entire no man's land. So it was a challenge. I actually had to take 2 turns to really recoup my losses of not holding objectives. I actually think too, it's a very low scoring mission as well.
Potentially depends on the matchup, because you could raise like 6 objectives in no man's land. So depending on the matchup, it could be high scoring or low scoring. Like, I think that varies too a lot.
It swings, right? Like, it can swing.
Which could also affect the balance of if someone's scoring a tournament off battle points. That could really skew based on matchups too.
Yeah. No, I think bottom of meh. It's again a fascinating and mechanically, interesting, but not balanced.
I agree. Yeah. So we agree, Matt, that it's a bottom of meh.
I agree. Yep.
All right.
I think it's right above Theta.
No, Theta's an S tier.
Those are the new missions we're going to talk about next week.
Right.
Those are the missions we used to have to write back in 5th edition when we had to write our own missions.
Those are the. You see those symbols? That is the 14th Black Crusade right there.
So, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm waiting for you because I have opinions on.
You have opinions on H. So
yes,
H.
Sir.
So H being supply drop, smoke and mirrors, and hammer and anvil. So we got a lot of hammering anvils. As always, we always think that, or most of the time, that Crucible Battle and Tipping Point are probably the most balanced, most fun as well. I think they're more fun as well, which leans to us favoring those a little bit more. But I think Hammer and Anvil allows the opportunity for most armies to keep it balanced, except for those, outliers that have indirect, which really doesn't affect much, or highly shooty armies that are sitting on layouts 4 and 6, right? But supply drop and smoke and mirrors. Go ahead, Thomas. Go ahead first, since you're so excited to talk about it. Break it down, bro.
To tailgate, I think Hammer and Anvil is the second best deployment. We'll get to what I think is best later. But this is a very funny mission, and why I said the ritual is the second least balanced, because I believe supply drop is the least. And there is no... It's almost luck dependent. On Hammer and Anvil, like I said, all the objectives are on the 30-inch center line. So you're all equally spread out. You all have the equal amount of chance to deploy and to control and to contest. And like even now that terrain is, symmetrical, even terrain is even. The problem is you don't know where the Alpha and the Omega is going to be until after you drop. And Smoke and Mirrors kicks in after both of you are done deploying, but before the Alpha and Omega roll is done. So even the army roll is just the luck of the draw of whether or not you pick up something, and did you pick up the right thing on the right side, or did you handicap yourself where you need to be? I think that this is the least balanced mission. Again, I think it's super interesting and the most player, like pilot, not even army you pick, but pilot skill to maneuver, because you have to get to turn 5. This game, or this mission specifically, tells you turns 4 and 5 matter more than turns 2 and 3 put together.
I agree.
But I do believe it is the bottom of balance, even on Hammer and Anvil.
I would agree with that. If they had it in the card, which objectives disappeared and you knew deploying, it'd be a lot better, and then it might actually be a kind of fun mission. But yeah, you put down, and then you're hoping you're in the right position for the one that's going to really decide the game.
I also think if Smoke and Mirrors happened after the Alpha and Omega roll, I think that would make it a little better. I don't think you'd get it out of Met here, but then I think there would be some strategy and some armies could kind of equalize. But as it stands, it's just how good did you deploy, and did you get the side you were hoping it'd be on?
Yeah.
So I agree. Yeah, bottom of Met here.
Hobby Goblins in the house. What's up, fellas, ladies, everyone, goblins? How y'all doing, my peoples?
Those goblins be hobbying, man.
By the way, they have an exciting new show called Hobby Pants. I really like that. I'm very scared as a painter, or very shy as a painter, rather. And go check that out, man. That's actually a very good episode. They did their first episode the other day. I wasn't able to watch it because I was driving, and I want to live. But they have some exciting stuff over there as well. So shout out to Hobby Goblins, Nick as well. So Ritual improved with 12 inches. Go ahead, brother. What were you going to say, Matt?
I was just telling the Hobby Goblins to give us more Daniel playing Space Wolves.
more Space Wolf play. See, but I don't think it tiers that high, right? I don't think it helps with the algorithms. I kid, of course. And then Nick's in the house. Lee from Battleboard Studios saying what's up to Hobby Gobos. Who else is in here? So we got Kurt as well. So what does Matt say a lot in Thailand? I didn't catch that one.
We said something. I can't remember what it was.
He said it swings both ways. I caught it right when Kurt said it.
Did I? Oh.
Gotta love it.
Hey.
It swings both ways.
Kurt's the one who tried to blame going into the lady bar on him not having his glasses.
So this next mission,
and you perpetually keep on telling everyone that too.
Because it was my first night there. It was hilarious.
That is hilarious. And he tried to set you up, and it's hilarious how he ended up setting himself up.
Yep.
Hey, I mean, while we're on it, where's Mission Thailand going to fall on here? Like, what tier does that go in?
I'd say top of A++. A plus.
Is it A++?
Yeah, it's balanced. They got a little of everything. Whatever you want.
General, Jesus, General Slaughter. If you could go ahead and put H just right behind G, where we all think it belongs, that would be.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So H right behind G. So worse than G, huh, guys?
Yeah,
Again,
it's more random.
It is.
Now, I love that it is a player skill mission, but player skill missions are the exact opposite of balanced for everybody missions.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. These rankings aren't the order of how much I like them. Like I enjoy a lot of these missions that are lower, but
yeah,
that's because I feel I have the player skill to play other good players on them.
exactly. So we got up next. I for mission I for India, burden of trust, prepared positions, and search and destroy. So this one can be very egregious and very not balanced, especially if you're playing against Wolf Jail, my orcs, aggressive orcs, world eaters, and things like that. So it has some tactical depth and strategic gameplay, but it's not a super good choice for balance. So what are we thinking, Matt?
I say it's very similar to F, other than the deployment's different, and the deployment can favor certain armies, so I think it's even lower than F. So it'd be lower down in meh, to me personally.
Matt, more in the meh section, like right below F. What are you thinking, Thomas?
Well, because it's the same as F, other than it has a less balanced deployment, so I think it definitely has to go below F.
Right. We could change it. What you got? What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, no, I think it's the same. I think it's more balanced because it's not so pilot dependent as the ritual or supply drop, but I do think it belongs for all the same reasons with F, with burden of trust. I don't think what is it? I think actually it is worse because prepared position, at least hidden supplies, puts another objective out to at least give you some chance to make a foothold. With just 3, it is a lot. You could just be they could hold 2 and blow you off the one you're on. So yeah, I agree that it's right behind F.
Yeah, I agree too. Hopefully we're not going to start spelling something crazy over here with all of these letters. So next up on the docket, and after this one, we're going to go ahead and play a brand new commercial. I'm excited about this one. This is something of a rather large event that's going to go out here in Florida, the largest convention. So we'll show that and share that here very shortly. But we're going to talk about J first, which until you read the deployment is great until then. So J is going to be linchpin, raise banners, and then search and destroy. So it's great for aggressive armies, but for balance, I would say that it's more tourney worthy than a meh.
Yeah, because we have
it's still linchpin. Yeah,
because it's very similar to C, which we have a tourney A++, but with the deployment, I think that does knock it down to tourney worthy.
Yes, I think so too. Can you expand on that a little bit, Matt? Is it just because of the deployment itself? I mean, hidden supplies really doesn't help it at all, right?
Well, so this is raised banners, right?
I'm sorry. This is raised banners. Raised banners doesn't help it at all, right?
Raised banners doesn't do too much, no. I think the search and destroy, just the deployment zones being closer, it's easier to deny people from scoring some secondaries by blocking out your deployment zone.
Yeah.
I think aggressive armies enjoy being able to get you a little quicker. So I just think that just knocks it down slightly, but I think it's still a really good mission.
I think so too. I think linchpin is what keeps it up there. What's your thoughts, Thomas?
I think it is top tier, unironically, because while it is linchpin, search and destroy is the perfect deployment zone to have a protect your home objective mission primary.
Oh, that's a good point.
It is, as Matt said, it is super simple to screen that out. And if they want to come in, they got to do it the hard way. And if you're playing a 2,000 point game of Warhammer in 10th edition, your army you expect to have to, be assaulted by your opponent's armies. Like that's not a new factor that's going to catch you off guard. Now I think it's the bottom of that tier because as you said, some armies are a little more advantaged, but something I want to point out is even if they come your way, the 3 objectives, the center one is 9 from both of you because it's had the deployment zone.
Yep.
The objective that is on your hammer and anvil side of the board is only 12 away from you, while the one on your Dawn of War side, the long edge, is 16 away. So if your opponent wants to come at you and play Warhammer to, be places to score, containment, engage on all fronts, secure no man's land, like all these things, they are being stretched very thin. So I do think that it is a mission every army has a chance to play in and actually enjoy a full 5-turn game. That is my defense for A+.
I do agree. It does it's advantageous and balanced for both aggressive and defensive armies, and I think it brings some strategy to the game as well. So I think it's the bottom. I think it would be somewhere in between, tourney worthy and A++. So I guess we are at a consensus with Jay. Thomas has opinions. Shocking.
I know.
The erotic alchemist. Somebody's not loving your opinions today, or are they being sarcastic?
They're teasing.
They're trolling you. That's exactly what's happening. So let's go ahead and play that commercial. I'm excited to introduce this one. Give me 1 second. I'm going to bring that out, peoples. So it's going to be about a minute long. We'll be right back. And enjoy.
Enter the Crucible 2024. Crucible is more than a gaming convention. It's a community gathering in beautiful Florida, the largest offering of tabletop gaming, including RPGs, board games, card games, with access to tons of vendors. Meet Carvey. I love this little guy. Whoa, Carvey's excited. With Crucible around the corner, aren't you? Crucible 2024 is held in Orlando, Florida, a great place to visit. Not to mention, Universal Studios Florida is right next door to the Crucible. By staying at Doubletree Universal, you support Crucible 2024. Be sure to use the link on the website and get a great discount. Crucible is a community event of the year. Join your friends, make new ones, and have an epic 3 days of gaming and shopping. That got Carvey going again. Carvey, no! Watch out for the chainsword!
Tim, bring back Carvey. We need him for the show.
I'm on it.
No, Tim, you created a monster. That's not Carvey. Yay, Carvey's back. You did it, Tim.
I rerolled a save. Join us and Carvey September 6th through the 8th for Crucible 2024. Scan the QC code to grab your tickets now. We would love to have you, and we hope you enjoy Carvey. Say bye, Carvey. I love that guy.
All right. So it's pretty funny, isn't it? So I designed the entire thing. That's why I was really excited about it. It took me quite some time to design it. But I think it's pretty hilarious with Carvey. Right now, everybody knows Carvey from Crucible. He is the lead, the mascot of Crucible. For those of you who are not aware, I am the liaison head judge, the tournament organizer for the Warhammer 40K GT side. As of right now, previous me of checking the actual event, we are at 125 participants signed up. We are expanding it out into 144 participants. So please make sure to join, participate, register, pay in at QuestCon. If you want to see this video again later on, there's a QR code on there. Make sure to scan that. And hopefully I get to see you there. And some of these gentlemen, I believe Thomas is going to be there. I don't know if Matt's going to be there yet. I know Matt tries to be everywhere as well. I know Matt will be at Grand Onslaught 8 as well. So hopefully you see all of us at the show.
And I didn't see it in there. What are the dates in case people are wondering?
September 6th through the 8th of 2024. Thank you, brother, for the reminder. And
I will actually be in Florida, but I won't be at Crucible.
So you're going to have to come by and at least say hello or something.
Well, I'm going to be in Tampa visiting my dad and them.
Ah, okay. It's just an hour and a half drive, man.
Just call it a brunch.
Yeah, we're
Exactly.
He bought me tickets to the Commanders Bucks game for my birthday, so I'm flying down and we're going to it.
Oh, nice. Very nice, man. Well, hopefully the Bucks win for all of us Tampa.
You know what?
And he's off, people. He's gone.
And actually, I think Dan Smith is trying to go to the game too. Him and I are probably going to link up there.
Nice. Shout out to that dude, man. I haven't seen him or spoken to him in a very long time, but a wonderful individual. So next on the docket, we have Mission K, which is Scorched Earth, Stalwarts, and Search and Destroy. Scorched Earth can make it very skewy, as we talked about before, right? If you're going second, you're at an advantage. You can get 15 to 20 points at the end of the game if you live throughout the end of the game. See, that's another point too, Matt and Thomas. They have to live to the 5th battle round in order to get those 15 and 20 points.
No, unsurprisingly, I also have opinions.
Unsurprisingly. So Stalwarts helps out slightly. You know, you can still perform actions in shoot, and then you can perform actions in engagement range. But I do, I personally love Search and Destroy, but for balance purposes, that can really skew it and put it in one person's aggressive or defender's advantage. So what are our thoughts, peoples? What are our thoughts? Okay.
Well, so I think, Scorched Earth, we did that. We had D as down in Ma, and it had a better deployment. So I'd say it's very close to D. I'd say right behind it.
Yep. So what's your thoughts, Thomas, since you have thoughts and opinions?
I think it's meh for the same reason Linchpin was better, because getting those 20 points means getting into that Search and Destroy deployment zone and burning it. You can't advance onto it. You have to already be in a position where you're close enough that you can walk on, have more OC than them, because you can't shoot them or fight them. Or if you're battle line, you could. But I think the 5 is possible, but I think that 20-point swing is a lot more difficult on Search and Destroy specifically, as opposed to Tipping Point. I don't think it's A++, but I do think it does make it a bit more balanced than D, which is swift action in the second largest deployment zone of Tipping Point.
Yeah, I would say, though, I think the 15-point swing might be easier in this one, though.
Well, it is. I would say that too.
It's really, I mean, and it's a 5-point swing. It's a 5-point swing, because if it's in, you're going back and forth. And also the player, let's not remember, player 5 can burn on turn 4 to leave 2 no man's land objectives. So then you have to get out, hold them both, burn 1. They scored 15. You score 15. It's a tie game.
But they have to survive. That's a problem with burning on bottom of 5 is you don't have to survive your opponent's turn.
Right. But you have to still have a unit to do the action, because you can shoot and you can be in melee to do actions. You cannot charge onto an objective and then burn it. I'm not disagreeing that it should be in meh even. Like I think it should be in the personally middle, but I think it should be much above D just from Tipping Point and Search and Destroy alone.
Because I think this is Star Wars. In Star Wars, you can do actions still in engagement range,
but you cannot declare a charge and do actions. It's just with already in engagement.
You can shoot them off.
You can, yeah. So I'm fine with meh. That's a very long-winded way to say I think it's better than D from the deployment zone differences.
Okay. So you think, so you think Scorched Earth is slightly better than Search and Destroy, but I still think Search and Destroy isn't the most balanced deployment just in general.
Yeah,
sure.
not even
so maybe a little above D instead of a little below D.
Yeah, and again, that's solely off the back of that 20-point bottom turn swing is much harder than it would be in Tipping Point.
Well, like you're saying, it's 10 points and 5 points.
Well, yes, that extra 10 points of swings. You are correct.
And I think it's better than I, too, because that's Burden of Trust and Search and Destroy. So I think it would be a little bit ahead of I.
Yeah,
what do you think,
right behind F. That seems fine with me.
Yep. So it looks like we don't have a lot of tourney-worthy missions so far. That might change here shortly. Actually, speaking of which, taking hold. So go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick to John Anderson in the chat, join the Facebook group, man. We people are always looking for games, and there's always we're more than willing to help you learn and play.
Oh, John's been a player for a long time. He just hasn't got to play much lately.
Yeah.
I got.
He'll be at Grand Onslaught 8, by the way. So he'll be able to play a few games there. At least 5 GT level games.
Yeah, John's old Warhammer. John's been to a bunch of ATCs with us. Yeah. John knows the basics of the game. He's just got to get his head around Pariah.
You misled me, John. I can't believe you would do this.
He might be Slanesh. I don't know. Deceptive.
You are forgiven.
He only says that, John, because he is a Slanesh player. Thomas is a Slanesh player. That's why. So.
This is pink for a reason.
John is family to both of us. We've known him for too many years, man. Too many years. So
I do not have a lot of opinions on this one, but I would love to hear both of yours because it's two of the most talked about things this show so far put together.
Yeah, so Taking Hold, Hidden Supplies, and Search and Destroy for L. So, as always, Taking Hold is pretty amazing. I think Hidden Supplies makes it a little bit better. For Search and Destroy, knocks it down a peg. I would say this is tourney worthy, but we can always change this. I think the two, right, the mission rule and the primary make it that. But I think that Search and Destroy would make it at the end of tourney worthy. What you got, Matt?
I'd put it at the top of tourney worthy, just below A++, because Taking Hold is the most simple mission there is. And then with the 6 objectives, now both sides are really, really equal.
And being, that is better than Purge the Foe. I would agree, too. Yeah, Purge the Foe and Tipping Point. Tipping Point makes it really good. Smoke and Mirrors is all right. But, yeah, I would agree that it's actually in front of it. What are your thoughts, Thomas, before I change it?
I agree that it is top of tourney worthy because I think this one, while it is, Taking Hold good for everyone, and Hidden Supplies, because it's the center that split 6 inches. If you're an army that can hold the center or wants to dominate the center, you're getting your 15s every turn.
Yep.
So I do agree that it is perfectly at home at the top of tourney worthy.
I agree too. Yeah, and that's a lot of. This is actually a high scoring game, right? And it's straightforward too, right? It's just straightforward objectives. Its balance is very solid, and it has some strategic depth to it as well, right?
I would not be surprised if both players score 50 on primary. The center control player gets the middle, and the other player says, "Cool, I'm going to go hold these two in my home. We're both holding 3 because there's 6 and 50 points."
I agree. I think that could be a potentially high scoring one. So. All right, and then next up we have M, which I just finished playing M yesterday against Guard, and shout out to that guy. I'm not going to name him because it was horrible for him, amazing for me, but shout out to Army Esports. And Mission M is Purge the Foe, Rapid Escalation, and Crucible Battle. So we have a consensus, most of us, at least me and Matt do, that Crucible Battle is an amazing deployment type. Purge the Foe is not the best, right? But Rapid Escalation helps out just slightly with Purge the Foe. I think Crucible puts it in a position where it's still tourney worthy and it's not really a meh, right? I think we also forget too, because people look at it where Purge the Foe, they think that it's just kill. Remember, we still got to hold objectives as well.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, so I'd personally, because B was the other Purge the Foe, but I think Crucible of Battle just puts it right above B.
Yep. I think so too. What's your thoughts, Thomas? I know we're talking about Ed over here. I know you just dropped out with some probably some thunderstorm issues going on, whatnot in your area, because I got a lot over here as well.
I think that Purge the Foe is and I didn't hear what you guys said. I got to back in, but I think it's tournament worthy because it is 2 parts. It is the killed whole, so it MSU and elite armies both have an out to play towards.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, and I think that's why it brings it to tourney worthy and balance, right?
and I do agree. I said earlier that Hammer and Anvil is my second favorite. The Crucible of Battle is my favorite deployment. I think it is the most fair, the most like board state affecting deployment that we have for this mission pack.
I just hate trying to set it up holding the tape measure across the freaking board.
Yeah. Well, when you're the size of David Ozawa, right? That's what you're going to do all the time anyway. So
yeah.
Also, Nick does bring up a good point. New Purge the Foe does let you get kill in the first battle round. One of the few missions you can score primary, but kill more is no longer an option.
Yeah.
So there's no more instantaneous 8-point leads right out the gate.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, that was pretty obnoxious, right? They try to do it like old ITC, where it was kill more, hold more, right? Yep. I think it could be very swingy. I think they fixed it mostly with, the indirect fire. They used to take advantage of a lot of that.
Yeah.
As
a
spore mine aficionado.
Yeah. You guys said something at the same time. What was that?
Go ahead.
No, he said he's a spore mine aficionado. I just said I think it's a fun mission.
Yeah. I think M is a fun mission as well, especially when you play it against guard on fixed and it ends up going in your favor as a close combat army. Pretty hilarious. So we said in front of B, but behind L, right?
Correct.
What is that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right ahead of the other Purge the Foe, but right behind the Take and Hold.
I agree. So next up, we got 3 remaining My Peoples, and then it is the conclusion of the show. Sad face. I know people don't want to go yet. And hopefully me, Almost Functional 40K, and Thomas are able to help out a lot of you players out there. Give you a good understanding of what might be balanced, right? Remember, there are different levels on how you can rank these entire missions. You can rank them. I mean, me and Matt talked earlier from the difference of 2 different detachments where you might have Champions of Rust and then Stormlance, right? So a Stormlance where they play completely different into these particular missions, right? My Orcs being another one, my World Eaters being another one, Thomas running Demons, Thomas running Tyrannids as well. So we have quite a few faction specialists on this show. We could say that a lot of these could be advantageous to us in one direction, but we wanted to do something that was very balanced for every single faction, right? So if you go out there to these tournaments, you're going to know and be like, all right, ACEJ thus far, right, are probably going to be the most balanced ones that it really doesn't matter per se if you have an aggressive army or a defensive army. You should both, if you're around the same skill level, you should both do pretty well, right? So would you agree, guys?
Yeah. And you probably won't see AE and L at the same event.
I would say
3 round because they're all taking hold.
Yeah. I agree as well. Yeah. I mean, you might, the TO might not know what he's doing, but
I mean, I've noticed.
Yeah, dude, you don't want to go play at you don't want to go play at the AL RTT?
I like taking it. I'll do it. I'll play on anything. If I get to roll dice and play 40K, we'll play the same mission all 3 rounds. I don't care.
I'm going to change all the missions for Grand Onslaught A to be QRST and another Q.
Thank you.
Soccer.
Finally,
Let's play.
A TO who is standing on business and not afraid of yes. I will say to your point, Lewis, that if you are playing against a Tyranid player and it's Purge the Foe, you are going to have a fun time because they're going to be sweating.
They're going
just look at them and say, hey. They don't.
And we lost.
Anyways.
Yep. All right. So for N, we got the Ritual, Swift Action, and Crucible of Battle.
All right. So, yeah, we already did the Ritual. Swift Action's nice in the Ritual. But then Crucible of Battle is the better deployment than Hammer and Anvil. So I put it right above G. Still in meh because of the Ritual, but up higher because of Crucible of Battle.
I actually think that it's like either top of meh or bottom of B. I don't know because I I'm interested to hear both of your opinions on this because Swift Action and Crucible of Battle kind of bumps it up a little bit, right?
I think it's behind F. And the only reason is Burden of Trust is not an action. It is a declaration of a unit. So I think that's a little more fair. So elite armies don't have to give up anything to do it, whereas the ritual you do. But I do think that it is meh. I do think it is a little more up because Crucible of Battle allows for a lot more, not only staging to go ritual and objective in, but also lanes of fire. So if your opponent does, like you were saying, flood the board, get that 23-inch gap to not come in, more of your army can be brought to bear on them to punish them for that.
Yeah, and it favors an MSU army that can do lots of actions and not really give up a lot of playing the rest of the game.
It's still very, very tactical. You have to leverage your resources correctly, but it is a lot more fair than the other ritual.
I agree. So what do you think, Matt? You think that's a good position right there, right behind F?
Yeah, as I figure it should be above G. And my only thought on meh was it was better than G, but I still thought it was meh because of ritual, so I'm fine with it right there.
Okay. All right. Then next up, one of our favorites, at least two of us, we have Mission O, which is Terraform, Stalwarts, and Crucible of Battle. So I think all of these are amazing. I think Crucible of Battle deployment is great. I think Terraform is great as well. The only, oddball thing about Terraform is that once you get all those objectives and you terraform them, you basically have that for the rest of the game. But other than that, I think these are amazing. So what are we thinking about? Oh, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think it's not quite A++. I think it's tourney worthy just because there are a few matchups where I think that people getting to in terraforming early could be a problem. But I don't think there's a lot of those, so I don't think it's meh. But I don't think it's quite its tourney A++ because there can be some matchups where it skews.
It is. It is, and I agree. Yep, and that's the lack of balance on O. I think the missions are really good, or the primary mission is okay. The mission rule and the deployment is a lot better. So
I think we should switch B and A.
B and A?
Yeah.
LMAO. Now that's just a censored version. That's censored version. Laughing your butt off.
Okay, there we go. That's fine. That's the YouTube, censored version.
Exactly. So what's your thoughts on this one, Thomas?
Many.
Talk to me. And where should we put this, Matt? I'm sorry, before we go to Thomas. So what are you thinking, Matt? Right behind L?
What was L? L was taken hold? Yeah, I'm fine with behind L.
Yep.
So I think personally, like we talked about with where was it at? Linchpin being one step on, one layer added on top of take and hold. I think that Terraform is a step added on top of Linchpin. Instead of just now, hold these, but one has to be your home. It is now okay because you can still only hold two, I believe. So you score 15 max, so you can hold 3 in No Man's Land, or So you can hold 3 and score, or you can terraform, complete the action, and score from that plus holding others.
Yep.
So it does add a layer of complexity, which some does favor some and hinder other armies. But it is, I describe it as it is a very back and forth game. It is a very, you ask your opponent asks you through how they play. Like Matt said, you can go forward and overwhelm. That is a strategy. You can sit back and just blow them to bits for trying to terraform turn after turn while you just score your, 8 or 12 or whatever.
Yep.
I think that fact now, I do, upon further thought, think it belongs in tournament worthy because for balance sake, this is it does have complexity, which may bring it down for what armies can and can't play it on equal footing. Swift action, Stalwarts is wonderful because there's more actioning with less loss of efficiency. Does bring up those elite armies as well. And Crucible Battle is just full disclosure, this is my favorite mission. I love this mission. I love playing it. I love being played against it. But I think it is top of tournament worthy because out of the non-fully balanced missions, I think it is the most balanced, if that makes sense.
I mean, it does bring a lot of balance, right? And it encourages strategic thinking as well.
No,
right?
I lied. L is better. Taking a hold with 4 in the center is but search and destroy. No, I think behind L is good.
Yeah.
I have reviewed my opinion, and Matt is correct on his consensus.
I mean, I could have told you that.
Take a hold.
Look, I had to get through my personal bias. I cannot tell you guys or the chat my absolute favoritism for this mission. But
there's a couple missions that I love to play that are down further than but that's not how I'm ranking them. Yeah,
for balance purposes. Yeah,
like I love Unexploded Ordnance. I want to play it, but you know what?
Yeah, I want to play a lot of those Dawn of War games. Absolutely,
yep.
But
I've been playing Dawn of War since 2nd edition. Now all of a sudden people are like, "Don't do that." I'm like, "But that's 40K."
It's oppressive. It's oppressive to a lot of close combat armies.
Yep.
And I know you like that, but I mean, for tournament play and balance, right? It's just not. It's not the best. So
no, I agree. It's just.
You agree? What?
No, I agree. It's not balanced. It's just for 6, 7 editions. It was the only deployment we had.
I know. So it's more nostalgic to you than anything.
That's what I'm saying. It brings back memories for me.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. And at Crucible, I'm running no Hammer and Anvil or Dawn of War. So nice. You heard that here first. So there's going to be a lot of Crucible
sweeping engagement.
All sweeping engagement. Tipping point, Crucible of Battle, and
Search and Destroy. Yeah, I find most of the tournaments I'm going to now, if they're only doing 3 rounds, those are the 3 deployments they're using.
Yep. Those are usually the best. Hammer and Anvil and Dawn of War, me personally, like we keep on talking about relentlessly, is amazing for my armies, but not balanced for tournament play.
Yep.
So what were you going to say, Thomas?
Oh, I was just going to say TOs just need to stop being cowards and do supply drop the ritual. That's it. Just 3-round event.
Supply drop.
3 rounds of unexploded ordinances, and you get custom-made soccer ball objectives. Everybody has to wear their favorite EuroLeague jersey. Just make it a thing.
We are at the finish line, gentlemen. We have one more to get through.
We got one more, my peoples. All right. So P. P is the absolute last, bottom of the list before we get into QRST. This is going to be Scorched Earth Inspired Leadership and Crucible of Battle. So we've talked about... Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Inspired Leadership is basically nothing. No one ever even remembers it's a rule.
I know. It's like the statues. You remember the statues? They used to give you a leadership buff.
Oh, I know.
I am personally offended by this rule, so we will get to that.
Crucible of Battle is, obviously said, probably the best deployment, but Scorched Earth, I'm still not a fan of. We put all the other Scorched Earths in meh, so I'd leave it in meh, but maybe bump it up toward the top because of Crucible of Battle.
Yes, I would agree. And until Thomas has an opinion and maybe he decides the fate of P.
Well, I don't think it's no. Look, the only opinion I have, I agree with all that. My opinion on inspired leadership, that rule hurts some armies so astronomically much more than other people. Like Matt said, you just ignore it, doesn't exist. I can tell you as a Tyranid and a Demon player, that rule is the bane of my existence in this mission. Because +1 leadership, if within 9 inches of your warlord, if it's within line of sight, or sorry, +1 leadership, if it's out of your deployment zone and within line of sight to that unit. Most things are already leadership 6 or 7 anyway, so going down to 5 or 6 is brutal for Battle Shock. Not dependent, but like assisted strategies. Now, it is not a big role, and it is a minority of armies. I acknowledge that. It's just my armies, and I am personally affronted that somebody at GW got bored and just threw this one. You could have put in draw 3 cards and put 1 back. Come on, that would have been a better role.
I'm going to pull out my card, scratch out Inspired Leadership, and put Annoy Thomas on it.
Yes, I'm going to an event that's playing this, and it's a team event. I told all my teammates, unless you're playing Chaos Knights or Tyranids, don't worry about it. If you're playing them, make sure you use it.
That's right. And an Orc player. Orc players love this as well. They benefit from this.
Yeah, no, everybody.
They have crappy leadership, so.
But yeah, no, I do agree that it is in meh. Let's see, where's F? I don't think it's above F because again, Burden of Trust isn't an action, and this is an action. And the discrepancy of points, the player going first can score by burdening on 5, versus what they could burn, especially in Crucible of Battle, a very big deployment zone. I do think F is a bit more, but I think P is right behind F, between F and N, because the ritual is harder than Scorched.
Yeah, I'd say right between F and N. That sounds good to me.
Oh, he was trying to do Feel No Pain. All right, we messed it up for him.
All right, Lewis, I want you to pronounce this for us.
I don't know.
Lewis just summoned a demon.
It's German.
Bellacore has appeared in Lewis's garage.
My god!
This is Lewis. It wouldn't be Bellacore. It'd be Angron.
It'd be Angron, and would it be hanging out, drinking some mead?
Yes. What Angron is known for, hanging out pleasantly.
Otherwise known as blood for the bad guys.
I know Lewis better than you. It's a big old, what are they called? Keeper secrets?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I'll take 4.
That's definitely my style. I'm more into the Keeper of Secrets type deal, being seduced and things like that. So he's right. Matt knows me. and Grant, I'll just probably run away from him. Be like, look, man, you're too aggressive for me, bro. That's too much aggression,
boy.
I haven't seen any, but do we want to let people ask a question or two, or
no? We'll tell them what they need to know. Oh,
well, Nick did say we got to mine the gold, baby. Got to mine the gold, and that was one of those missions.
Terraform,
Terraform,
yeah. So
I love the visual of Terraform, like the old StarCraft games or like a Halo, where you just see the corruption coming up. Like, I don't know what you other factions are doing, but we're building flesh spires to the mothership.
True indeed. No, I appreciate everyone. I appreciate everyone participating. I'm going to do a quick outro real quick and do an outro music. Thank you to everyone who participated. Thank you to Almost Functional 40K and Thomas, as always. I'll see you guys here very shortly as I give out my spiel. Say bye, guys.
Bye guys.
So let me remove these. So going back to me, let me take away Nick from there as well. I know he's got some exciting information from the comments. So thank you to everyone who participated. Hopefully this episode of OCS 15 was exciting for you and all of you tournament players. As you can see our rankings, you can take a screenshot of everything that we posted up. Those are the very balanced missions when it comes to tournament play. Make sure to always like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much to the Onslaught Gaming 40K family. Thank you so much to Almost Functional 40K. If you want some great Space Wolf content, make sure to go check him out as well. And Thomas is a wonderful individual. So if you ever want to play against Tyranids and Slanesh demons, and in the near future, potentially some Khorne demons, make sure to go check him out as well. Next one, we're going to be talking about the Crucible event. So we're going to have a special guest on that one. And I'm very excited for the Crucible coming up on September 6th through the 8th. That's going to be 7 rounds, amazing prizes, gifts, swags. For those of you who have never been there before, it is the largest convention in the state of Florida. It's actually in Orlando, Florida. It is right across the street from Universal Studios. So make sure to come out and participate. Register now on Best Coast Pairings. Pay now on questcon.com. And come out and have 7 rounds of Warhammer 40K and have fun. And if tournament play on a competitive level is not your thing and you want to do more of a narrative, go check out Tim, who's going to be doing a narrative section of Warhammer 40K. He's going to have something spectacular with actors and things like that. So, yeah, hopefully I see you very soon. And as always, Onslaught Gaming 40K, where victory is just a strategy away. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.